Welcome, everyone. My name is Tammy Davidson, and I am the EVP of Right Management. I'm very excited to be here today. Not only am I the EVP of Right Management, but I have the honor and privilege to be the chairperson for the HR Workforce Committee for the Greater Miami Chamber. And we put on many of events and have a dynamic committee. So if you're in HR, please join us. We'd love to have you participate. And today is an ongoing series to help businesses, HR professionals, and those in the community to know about what's happening in organization, what the trends are in business, and to build a network of individuals that help and support each other. This is the fourth in the webinar series this year. And in the fall, which won't be too far away in August and September, we will be starting our new series of video topics. But without this, all is not possible without sponsors. So I would like to introduce Ulysses Luciano from the South Florida Commuter Services with a video and a few brief words.
Switch.
If there are 3 or more people in the car, use the I-95 express lanes for free. To register, visit carpoolmiami.com.
All South Floridians who carpool, vanpool, or ride transit to work are automatically entitled to free Uber rides home in the event of emergencies, or if you have to work late with no advance notice.
Ulysses, unmute yourself on your computer. There you go.
Perfect. Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought I heard you. Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ulysses Bucano. I am the Marketing and Outreach Coordinator for Software Community Services, which is a program of the Federal Department of Transportation. We're proud sponsors of today's webinar. And Software Community Services mission is to reduce traffic congestion and software highways by creating
You're on mute.
alternative transportation modes from the traditional road options, such as the ones that you watch on the video. We work with employers to provide free commuting benefits that will empower their teams to commuting by providing them programs such as carpooling programs, vanpooling, free transit passes, and free Uber ride back home. If you would like to make an impact in your organization and provide your employers with great benefits such as this, please don't hesitate in contacting me. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you, Ulysses. And now for our next sponsor for a video of our next sponsor, BIU. Or maybe not a video of our next sponsor. There you go.
We live in a world that is constantly changing, a challenging, complex world that requires us to be better and better. That is why BU University, from its headquarters in Florida, United States, prepares you not only with the necessary knowledge to be a successful professional in the areas of business, education, and technology, but also offers you tools to develop your soft skills, which are the key differentiator sought by companies today. Through our 100% online methodology, based on learning by doing and through the analysis of real and current case studies, you will be able to discover, identify, and lead the path to success. Because we want to accompany you to become the best version of yourself. Broward International University. Be limitless. Be successful. Member of the International Higher Education Network.
Planeta Formación y Universidades.
Terrific. Thank you. And thank you all for being on the phone. I see that people are still joining us. So once again, I'm Tammy Davidson, EVP of Right Management, and proud to be the chairperson for the committee here for HR. Without further ado, let's get started. I want to introduce my vice chair, who is a partner in crime and my colleague, Erin Tandy from Boucher Brothers. And if you have ever been on Miami Beach, if you have ever been on a beach in Florida or across this country, and you have seen these beautiful blue umbrellas and this terrific staff that is Boucher Brothers that bring you drinks and water and cocktails and set up umbrellas, you have experienced their hospitality. So, Erin, I will let you take it away. Thank you very much for being my vice chair and doing what you do best, and we'll get this party started.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Tammy. I really appreciate it. I also love being the vice chair of this committee, and I think this is going to be a wonderful way to end our series, as you said. For those of you who are listening, I'm going to let Manny and Cynthia introduce themselves, but let me set up a couple of things. If you have some questions, we'll take them at the end. Please put them in the chat. I will get them, and then I will ask our distinguished panelists. What we're going to talk about today is the growing trends of new and creative benefits. When we used to talk about benefits, and I've got the gray hair to prove it, we only talked about really employee pay, healthcare, and time off. That landscape has changed dramatically. It was accelerated by COVID, you're going to hear. But what really is happening is that people are interested in what their lifestyle benefits are going to be, what those benefits inside and outside the office are going to be that help them improve themselves, help them improve their families, and help them improve their own working conditions. Manny and Cynthia are going to lead us in a wonderful discussion of these things. But I would say this has become a key point in attracting and keeping talent. more people are interested, not how much money they're going to make, but what are you doing to support me and my goals, whether it be educating myself, helping my kids get to college, or keeping my mental health. The other thing that our panelists are going to talk about towards the end is how you communicate this, because you can have a great benefits package, but if you don't communicate well within your organization, you can create friction points. And so I leave it to Manny and Cynthia to do that. I'll let them introduce themselves. And ladies first, so Cynthia, if you'd lead out, please introduce yourself, and then Manny, and then we'll start, as Tammy said, to get this party started. Thank you both for doing this. And for everybody else, we're going to have a wonderful discussion today. So thank you for joining us.
Great. Thank you so much, Aaron. Thank you so much, Tammy. And hello, everybody. Good afternoon, as we start right afternoon. This is Cynthia Borkowski is my name. I work with USI Insurance Services. I'm a healthcare advisor, right? So I'm very passionate about this topic. The reason why I wake up every morning is really to help employers really outsmart the current healthcare system in order to improve the well-being of their employees. So very excited to be here and participate on this conversation.
Good morning, or good afternoon, everybody. My name is Manny Fernandez, and I'm with Brown & Brown, and we are consultants for not only your property and casualty. My specialty within the organization is employee benefits. To start off, we pretty much break down the benefits into 4 areas. We have your basic benefits that we see, the worksite benefits, and then the newer ones that are coming on are the lifestyle benefits and also the office environment benefits. Now, we're not going to go too deep as far as basic benefits go. As you know, most of you already offer health, dental, vision, and the various life and voluntary life and disability programs. You know, the worksite benefits, most people know about the DUC with Aflac and Colonial Life or Allstate, or a couple of other carriers are on there. So we really want to break down and start off with more of the lifestyle benefits. And one at the top of the list, more than anything else today, is mental health. Now, when I went into the workforce many moons ago, the mental health benefit was basically knowing a good bartender. And that's not the case that it is anymore today. People don't really want to have, they more than anything else, they do want to bring this to the forefront, especially considering the fact that we have 4 generations right now working together at the same time in the same business. Some of the other benefits, and I'll let Cynthia chime in with some of the others.
Yeah, thank you, Manny. Like we talked about it, there's some benefits we're already accustomed on how to address them, but we have to remember that we have a very unique environment with multi-generational employees working together in different cultural backgrounds. Before I dive into some of the topics that I would like to bring up, which is one of them, which is top of mind for every single employer out there, which is DEI, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? Along with mental health, which are really hot topics, is to bring up as well one of the things that makes a huge impact, considering the multi-generational, is how you take advantage of the current benefits that you offer right now. Because one thing that is very important is when you run an open enrollment and you offer what we already know as far as health, dental, vision, life insurance, some of this younger generation, like if you go into Gen Z, they may not see this as applicable to them. So you can offer a lot of value as an HR professional to really drive in education in order for them to be aware that they can take advantage of that, especially financially, because if you're a young age, you can have access to a lot better rates if you're acquiring a life insurance policy. And some of them, even if they don't have dependents just yet, they can actually leverage the ability to access cash or having an additional line of retirement. So I wanted to chime in on that. That's very, very important because they're not all created equal, and the generations need to really pay attention and they need to understand what that really means. When we drive into mental health, same thing, you know, this is a hot topic because we just come out of COVID. If COVID taught us anything, is about how vulnerable we are as human beings, right? And it brought up the topic about being okay and becoming more common to have that discussion about how am I feeling? And if I don't have any sort of outlet in order to discuss and talk about the issues that I'm facing, you know, no wonder we have a higher suicidal numbers in our workforce. No wonder we have a higher number of alcoholism, you know, so you have to pay attention into that, but pay attention on the services you already have in order to leverage, and I'll jump into it. But DEI, on our perception, it's something that every company should be paying attention at. And this is the opportunity to really drive themselves different. Some of them are already coming up in new laws, which they will help you and on a way force you, because you'll be subject to a penalty, to be including and making sure that you have more equity with people like pregnant women. You know, we do have a new law that is just going into effect this month, actually, right? Which is the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act, which you really have to have the ability to adapt their workforce. So let's say, for instance, if they are standing most of the time, you should provide them a stool in order for them to sit. You know, you should be able to work with their time schedule, provide them additional breaks, restroom breaks, making sure that they're not lifting any heavy weight. And another one, which is causing a lot of, let's say, sometimes even funny remarks, as Manny and I were talking, is about the Pump Act, right? But we forget that up until now, women that had already given birth didn't really have the ability to be protected and have like a safe place that would be protected from any type of interruption to really take care of the extra breast milk that they need to address, right? So now this is already law as far as equity, inclusion, to make sure that they are really being able to take care of that physical need, right, on a safe environment, which does not include the bathroom. Right? If you're talking about DEI initiatives as well, you can address the women equality point as well with something that is becoming very popular in Europe and is coming up and raising a lot of eyes, which is menopausal. You know, we have 30% of our population of women, right? They are on that age. So we need to become more inclusive as far as making that conversation more normal and humanize it, right? Women do have certain physical challenges when they reach that age, that it's bringing new menopausal policies into their workplace. What do I mean with that? You know, maybe having even a fan, you know, that's going to be available for that person that's suffering from heat. Maybe having a cooling room or a quiet room if they have that moment where they're not feeling so good. So there's a lot of details, and I'll be happy to discuss in further with further information with your interest, but that's something that we wanted to bring up. And
Cynthia, let me jump in here for a second. I think one of the points that you've placed, and I think it's important for HR professionals, is you as the benefits gurus can create packages, but if the HR professional can't articulate that for the workers, that gets lost in the translation. But one of the other things I think you're pointing out, and I think I think you should touch on, is that a lot more people are interested in individualized benefit packages for people. It's not just, hey, you're here for a year, you get 10 days of PTO. If you're here for 15 years, you get an extra 5 days. You know, it's not a one-stop fits all. I think the changing landscape, which you've touched upon, but I'd appreciate if you and Manny would help everybody else, is that there's a lot more individualization going on here. So can you speak to that, and Manny maybe pick up?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. It's really customizing, and that's why understanding what your demographics are is so key. You know, you need to understand how old are your employees? What generation? Can you really tell out of the bat, like what is the largest percentage of your demographics? Are they baby boomers? Are they Gen Zers? The communication and the way that you're gonna align the benefits that you can make it available will speak directly to their need and to what their expectations are. And Gen Z is really forcing that, because now is not, what can I do for you to hire me? Is like, what are you gonna do in order for me to come work for you? Right? And there's a vast majority of, benefits that you can customize according to it. So you first and foremost understand what your demographics are. That's the number one thing. And then the communication, which we will discuss later, is key. But before we jump into the PTOs that you mentioned, which is so trend, is also fertility. One fertility planning or like family planning type of benefits. One thing that I want to bring up, that's something that every movement would like to have it available through their workers. However, the employers need to understand the risk that is going to make them exposed as far as risk management. Because if you are utilizing in vitro, you know, the likelihood of you having premature babies can really damage your risk management for your healthcare. So before we dive into that, I just wanted to bring that up, and we can circle back after it.
Along with in vitro, we're looking at 1% to 2% of the population of a large employer that would need those services. So it's not something that's a deal breaker, but you also have to be careful when you're beginning to offer that benefit. Along those lines, as far as other lifestyle benefits and things that are changing, the two big financial ones that are coming on, and it's constantly discussed, and it's been a political football, has been college loan payments. And what some employers are beginning to do, and it's beginning to trickle down, is that after an employee has been at, and as an employer, you pick the time frame, the average is about 5 years, where after an employee has been there for 5 years, you take a look at what college loans that they have out there that are outstanding that they're paying. And some employers, based on their pay grade, their position within the organization, they're giving them a lump sum in exchange for a 2-year contract to go ahead and help them pay off those college tuition loans. Along that, for everybody involved, every single generation, there's more and more communication going out there for financial wellness education. And some employers are setting up what they're calling rainy day funds. Much like a 401k, this is an after-tax type of program where they encourage the employees to turn around and start making small contributions to this in order to save them just in case something happens. It's no secret that a lot of people are 1 or 2 paychecks away from being evicted from their living scenario where they're at right now. So that becomes very important. Along with that, to help with the mindset and everything else, there's a sabbatical benefit that is coming on. And that sabbatical benefit is, in essence, for every 5 years that you're with the company, they give you a 30-day vacation where you disconnect from the company. It started out primarily with the high-tech companies. Now a lot of the bigger banks are beginning to do this, and it's beginning to trickle down to a lot of other organizations where they're turning around, they're saying, okay, John, you have been with us for 5 years, you've done a great job. We want you to relax. We want you to just disappear for 30 days. Now, you want to go on vacation, that's fine. If you want to sit home and mow the yard and tend to your garden, it's okay also. It doesn't really matter what they do. They just don't want to hear from you for 30 days. And what they're hoping is that in the process that the average employee can settle down, relax, spend some quality time with their family. And at the same time, they can turn around and just disconnect from everything. In today's environment, we're running at 1,000 miles an hour, and it becomes very stressful, and you start losing sight of the big picture. And that's the biggest challenge that we have with most people, and that's their mindset.
So Manny, can what you've been describing appears to be things that are outside the office, right? Cynthia and you have just been describing stuff that's outside the office, right? People having babies, hopefully not inside the office unless you work at a hospital. Most of us would like to not have the paramedics coming to our office to help deliver. Disconnecting from the office. Talk about some of the demands, and I say that really using that word, and I want people to hear me say that. What we have in the past was, employers would tell people, this is what we're giving you, and you would then make a decision based on how that would work for you. Much of the time, what the pay was, much less what your PTO was, and much less about your health benefits because everybody had a doctor or something like that. But today, most people are facing a challenge to find quality candidates. And those quality candidates are saying, okay, if I'm going to be in the office, here's what I want. I want the ergonomic chair. I want something, I want some ability to, go out, do certain things, or have certain things brought to the office. Again, a lot of this was accelerated by tech companies, but more and more people are coming to want those, let's call them in-office lifestyle benefits. Manny, talk about some of those, if you would, for the group, please.
So one of the things that we learned from COVID is that you can work outside of the office and you can work from home. And everyone pretty much worked remotely during this. Now what's happening is that many CEOs are beginning to change their position and say, we need you to be back in the office 2 to 3 days out of the week. Some of them started out at 2 days, now they're moving up to 3. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that they want to keep the corporate culture and collaboration going. And with that, they're also trying to take care of their employees by helping them out, by creating better work environments for them. And they're doing this, a smaller employer that's a little bit more nimble, they may have a monthly birthday party for the office. And other times they might have a quarterly luncheon for the offices, and then this way they could turn around, and it's a communication thing. Everyone gets together at the same time. Upper management comes in, they talk to them about what's going on with the company, they give them updates of what's going on with the company. One little thing that was done once in the past, and it's coming back in order to make the employees feel wanted and to feel much better about their environment, is you're seeing employers that are beginning to give what I call above and beyond gifts. These are arbitrary gifts. Someone that worked on a project, they did a great job, they blew it out of the park, and they turn around, they give them, gift certificates of Grubhub, Starbucks, DoorDash, and any of the popular programs that are out there. It's not a game changer. It's not going to change your lifestyle, but the biggest thing is recognition. Many employees today, they want to be recognized for the work that they're doing. And because of that, that's where it becomes a lot more helpful to be putting some of these things out. Some of them are a little bit more expensive. Above and beyond a gift certificate of $20, $25 isn't a game changer. Logistically, maybe a monthly birthday party is not a convenient item if you're in a factory, if you're a large employer with a couple of hundred employees, but quarterly luncheons for departments and things like that may be a lot more helpful. As far as communication for all this goes, the important thing in today's environment is that with the 4 generations that you have working for you, you really have to look at each of these generations and see where their preferred mode of communication is. A baby boomer might be perfectly happy with an email or a memo, whereas you might find generating Z, X, or any of the younger folks, they want to see something either on their phone, they want to see an email, they want to see it in an internet situation, they want to see it in the company's Instagram account. So, and everything in between at the same time. Today, The average person touches their phone about 2,000 times during the day. So we will leave the house, we forget our wallet or our purse, but if we have our phone, we keep on going. But if you leave the house and you don't have your phone, even if you're a block away from the office, there are people that would rather be late to work than not have their phone with them. And so that's becoming more and more important as far as the communication piece. There's lots of apps out there that incorporate this. A lot of the vendors, the health carriers, the life carriers, the dental carriers, they're all trying, even the investment companies are trying to put everything in a simple app so you can access it. You can do all your banking on your phone. You don't even need to go into a branch office anymore. So that's where all of this communication becomes much more important, especially to the folks that are involved.
Yeah, I would agree, Aaron, and just saying that keep in mind that in just a couple of years, by 2025, 25% of our workforce are going to be Gen Z. So these are people that were born after 1995. They were raised with a cell phone. So the way that a baby boomer would take a piece of communication effectively, it will be maybe walking into HR or having a printed piece of paper. Now Gen Z learns through videos. They want to be self-taught and potentially doing a FaceTime if that's the case. So it's completely different languages that it requires HR to really have a finger on the pulse of what kind of demographics are they really working through it. That's really what's gonna help deliver benefits. Because at the end of the day, why are we offering benefits? You're offering benefits either to attract and to retain and make sure that employees are happy with a nice and happy stage of well-being so they can be productive, efficient, and then increase the profits for the company. So at the end of the day, when we look at any type of packages, we need to see, okay, this is targeting the well-being of my employees, either by healthier food, gifts to feel appreciation, by feeling that the employer is helping them with some form of cost sharing, right? And ability to facilitate access to certain needs that they may have, right? When you talk about mental health, with COVID, we all got comfortable with telemedicine, right? And what a lot of employers don't know is that even some of the carriers offer a couple of visits that are at no cost on their EAP program. So tap into that and make sure that you build a culture that it's okay for people to talk about it and make it normal. And here in South Florida, we deal with the situation where we also have the cultural impact. Hispanic men, for instance, they are not warm and fuzzy, and they're not gonna be talking about their feelings over the phone. So me, as responsible for the culture and for the ability to create benefits for my employees, how can I make that normal? So how can I create a culture that my employees can actually pick up the phone and discuss about maybe a potential issue with their credit or a tax issue, so that can be normalized. So by the time that they have, for instance, nothing against you and Manny, but let's say an erectile dysfunction, that's something that affects 50% of men out there. If they can pick up the phone and be normal and be comfortable about asking for help of where should they start, most likely that's going to prevent levels of disengagement at home with their wives, with their spouse, and prevent divorces down the road, right? And that's how you are able to make it easier, or you increase your likelihood of somebody that is struggling maybe with a suicidal thought, that they will pick up the phone and call. So one of the things that I would recommend is leverage the resources that you already have with your current carriers and potential like voluntary benefits that you may already have access to at no cost, and use them and see what the receptivity of it is before you go into spending anymore. There's a lot of resources that can start having an understanding.
So I'm going to take our discussion in a slightly different way, and to hopefully to the benefit of the people listening. So, the fact of the matter is there's very few laws that exist here in South Florida or in Florida that require certain benefits, right? You mentioned, Cynthia, at the start, there's some new laws about, pregnancy women, Fairness Act, providing certain things even after birth. But one of the things that I think you touched upon, both you and Manny, and I think people here need to understand is the HR professionals at the company need to step in. Previously, 10 or 15 years ago, once a year you'd run, we're having open enrollment. And what would usually happen is somebody would send an email around saying, hey, in the conference room, you can meet with Blue Cross Blue Shield representatives, and they can lead you through the plan. And it was, we've now done our job on benefits. You either accept them, you don't accept them. If you signed up wrong, not our problem. Oh, well, you didn't cover your family. We'll have to figure that out. And pretty much a benefits discussion only happened if there was some change in structure. You got married, you got divorced, you had a baby, you adopted. Nowadays, that's not enough because many people have questions about benefits, and creating a carve out within the office time frame structure is very important. That means managers have to be part of that conversation, encouraging their employees to take advantage of even education sessions about the new benefits, right? And so we have a lot of older, right? You and Manny have talked about the different generations, lots of older managers, and I say that not to get my ADEA claim out there, but older managers tended to worry about what the work performance was and didn't necessarily want people walking down the hallway during working hours. That's changed. People are saying, if you want me in the office, and Manny, you touched on this, then I want to be able to talk about things during office hours. I don't necessarily want to take up my time outside of the office. That's my own personal time. I've given that. In COVID, we all had to call for the employer or our manager at 10 o'clock at night. Now people are saying, I need a differentiation. And if it's important, then you got to carve the time out of the workplace. And I think businesses that have been receptive to, the idea when you say somebody's going to have mental health, I'm going to go pick up the phone and I'm going to take 30 minutes to talk to a mental health counselor, and I'm not going to have to do that after hours, is also a way that benefits are changing. Because for the most part, those older benefits we talked about all happened outside the workplace, right? I got paid, but I got paid to my bank outside the workplace. I took my vacation outside the workplace, right? Not very many people are taking PTO and showing up and just saying, hey, I'm sitting, around. And the same thing with health benefits. It's all outside the office. The things that you and Manny have been talking about, lifestyle benefits, happen in the office, and more people are expecting that. So I'd like to have you talk about that expectation and how employers can sort of help create that. And then the other thing I want to say, just as a topic I think you're going to touch on for everybody, is, we have new benefits. Older or long-term employees, I won't say older, but people who've been there for a longer time can sometimes resent that young, people who haven't been at the company a long time, all of a sudden are getting great benefits that they never got. So one of the things that you have to also think about, and I hope you touch on, is how you deal with avoiding resentment within the fractured nature of the framework to keep your employees happy holistically. So now I've teed up the issue. Manny or Cynthia, which one of you wants to lead out?
I can take the lead. I think it really comes of you making sure that you have the ability and have the employees comfortable to express their needs and potentially wants. You have to be careful about what kind of expectations you're gonna set out there if you're not able to fulfill them. So start small. Start with a survey, an anonymous survey, or maybe like an online box of suggestions, so you can start getting opinions from all levels of employees, baby boomers and younger generation. Because to your point, Aaron, the younger ones are very vocal about it. They know what they want to talk. And to your point, mental health, they're not afraid to telling you that they have an issue with anxiety or depression, and they expect the employer to help them navigate through that and understand. So you have to keep the lines of communication, and that it goes also with training with your managers, because your managers are the ones that are on a one-on-one basis, that they can get a feel of what's going on as far as talk within the company in order to feel, like you mentioned, resentment. Right. So it all comes down to understanding who your demographic are and narrowing down even to the point of what zip codes are they, what is the population, that how much are they making? So if I don't understand who my people are, it becomes very difficult for you to attempt to please every one of them. So information is the number one point.
So to add to that, adding additional benefits will always be challenging. So as HR professionals, what you really need to do is you need to reach out to your stakeholders. You need to listen to them. You need to understand and support their views. You start that off by maybe a simple survey, find out what's important to them before you start setting up or breaking any ground for initiatives. You don't have to get 100% agreement. You're never going to get 100% agreement from all your employees. But the important thing is you need to get some type of support from the key members or stakeholders that you have in the office or in the workplace. And from there, what you need to do is you need to lead by creating a clear vision. And that vision needs to identify the opportunities. You need to have some examples to be able to talk to them about it. You need to make sure that the initiatives that you want to put together are part of the business's goals and not necessarily what your most vocal people are, but it needs to go and coincide with the company itself. And then after that, there's a lot of data out there for HR professionals that they can use to help show the organizations how it's been. You can calculate a return on investment, which is usually when you start talking about the C-suite, they want to know what type of return on their investment they're going to have by creating some of this. So that, more than anything else, is how you really need to move forward with it in order to make sure that some of these initiatives are going to be approved. Not only, the first thing is getting some type of buy-in from most of your employees, but then the biggest challenge is going to be getting everything approved by upper management. And that's where the vision, the setting some type of goals, making sure they're set up with the organization itself and their goals and their mission, and then show them some type of return on investment.
Yeah.
Follow up on that. And, a lot of the stuff, and I think people hear benefits and they often assume lots of cost. But many of the things you're talking about, even just finding a stool for somebody to sit, or creating a room where somebody can, pump, or having a room where somebody can just de-stress for 20 minutes. We used to laugh about, Google, who created these, immersion pods. But the fact of the matter is they work in the sense of allowing people to take 10 or 15 minutes to decompress and keep being productive the rest of the day, as opposed to, ruminating about it for 3 hours and having it affect their workplace. Talk about, cost. Many of the things you're talking about don't seem to add a lot of cost, as it were, to the bottom line if they're done correctly.
Yeah. Aaron, if like, it's interesting you brought this point, because I think people need to take a step back and understand how are they purchasing for healthcare, right? Because 10 years ago, it wasn't that complicated prior to Obamacare. Now the environment, the healthcare environment has changed completely. The incentives are completely different, and sometimes they're not really directed toward the best well-being and the healthiest care for your employees. So you need to keep an eye on that. But going towards money, if you are like most of the South Florida employers, you're still purchasing healthcare on the way that companies used to purchase 10 years ago, which is a fully insured environment. So they're sending a check to a carrier and hoping that they will do everything for you. That's like me going to CVS and doing all my monthly shopping list from CVS versus going to Publix, going to Target, and going to Costco. So I need to understand how am I actually utilizing those dollars that I'm already spending, and explore. A lot of people don't really know that we have 6 different ways that you can pay for healthcare. You have the fully insured, which is the most traditional and people are accustomed to, but you also have level funded. You have ASO bundle, you have ASO unbundle. You can do the assistance with a CPA, you can have a captive plan, you can have an RBP program, so there's a lot of different ways that will help you maximize those dollars and actually purchase healthcare on a wholesale basis versus retail. And that's where we can help a lot of employers find those dollars to reinvest on potential benefits that are more costly, not necessarily just the extra room. It's like, how do I pay for short-term disability for my mothers that are on living on medical leave? If they don't have any employer paid short-term disability, they're out of funds for 3 months. Yes, they may take the time, but they don't have any cash. That's already an issue of equality when you're talking about women versus men in the workforce. So just throw it out there, because there's a lot that can be done. And if you don't know any of those terms that I just mentioned, make sure that you sit down with your broker. Make sure you sit down with your advisor so you can at least be educated, because if this is not a good fit for you now, it can very well be a good fit down the road.
So as an example, with mental health, you have, if you as an employer offering life insurance and disability insurance to your employees, either on a voluntary basis or on a fully insured basis, the carriers will usually have a very basic EAP or an employee assistance program that they have available to them. And it usually includes, like, an employee can make three to 5 phone calls, depending on the carrier, to either a mental health professional or to a financial health professional to help them get, or even if a family type mental health type of program, if they're having concerns about separation or a divorce. Now, from that little program, you can actually get reports to tell you as the employer, not who it is, but how many people are making those phone calls. Now, it could also be the best kept secret in town, because again, you need to communicate it to the employees to let them know that they have this by maybe putting out a memo, putting out a card, something that they can call or email to go ahead and request the company. If you feel that you want something more robust, then you can actually go out there and get a premium type employee assistance program or EAP program. Some of those start at like 50 cents per employee per month. They're not very expensive. But what it does is that it helps you build out something that everybody can have a piece of and actually use as a benefit. It all comes down to communication, though. You always need to make sure that you're communicating to all your employees, not only one time, but on a regular basis, whether it's an internal newsletter that you're putting out, or something that the HR department can go ahead and send out to the employees to remind them of the different benefits that they have available to them.
And with that, I'm going to ask Danny first and then Cynthia, the top 3 things that you'd like people to take away from this. I'm going to add 1 or 2 comments at the end, but Manny, if you'd lead off, tell us 3 things that you want to make sure people who've been here are thinking about when the takeaways.
Well, the top things I feel is that you need to create a vision, and you need to lead with that vision, and give out examples and everything like that to your stakeholders and to upper leadership, so that you can get buy-in from those things and make sure they're part of the business goals, to make sure that you're taking care of the employees. From that, grab the HR data so that it will help you. You'll get examples to be able to show to management and also to your employees, say this is what we're working towards. And then on top of that, calculate the return on investment. Some of them might not have a great return on investment, but some of them might be a little bit more altruistic where you're really trying to help out the employees and make them feel wanted.
Cynthia?
All right, so if I would leave three things for people to have in mind is first, benchmarking. Really benchmark your company and your employees, which this will really show you where are you at and where you need to be in comparison to your peers, first and foremost. Because this is not a value. Let's say, for instance, if you have a low paying workforce and all of a sudden you have a high deductible health plan with no HSA fund. So that should be your number one focus right there, right? So benchmarking. Second, funding. How are you paying for your healthcare? This will actually show you how to get there. Where can I get those dollars in order to reinvest on what's going to make a difference for my workforce? And the third point is really communication. This will help you maximize your benefits once you're there, once you are making that investment, because as Manny has shared, it takes about 7 to 10 times for people to be exposed to the same information in order for them to retain about 10% of what was shared. So think about it. Open enrollment alone is not enough, period. So you need to work with a communication strategist in order to be effective and make sure that you're talking with all the different generations and the type of employees that you are serving within your own organization.
And with that, I'm going to wrap up with 2 points I hope are important. Number one, not from the creating benefits, but from the HR perspective, you as HR professionals out there have to understand, if people aren't using benefits, then you need to reassess. Don't be scared to reassess. But if you've got a great benefit package, but nobody's using it, then you have to understand that maybe it's because it's not the benefit package your workers want. So be proactive in terms of assessing. Don't wait for the next enrollment period. Don't wait for the next year to roll around. Figure out what's going on now. In addition, don't be scared to create your own benefits, right? Manny and Cynthia have a lot of programs that they're involved in that are very, I don't want to say structured, but they are being offered by groups. A lot of it is mix and match, as we said, individualization, but it's also coming from organizations. But my takeaway from all of this also is as we develop this return to the workplace, really, as people are moving, you as an organization shouldn't be afraid to create your own benefits that are things that create the culture connections that you want, right? An early morning walk, right? Work starts at 9, everybody come at 8:30 one day. We're just going to walk around the neighborhood for an hour, paid time, but have a chance to be out. South Florida, we can do that. Ice cream, Thursdays, something, silly, but sometimes creating your own benefits also helps you to use benefits to create the cultural message that you want. And the cultural message is what usually connects people and keeps people from leaving if they like where they work. With that, we're now at 12:55, so it's my time to turn this program back to our chair of the HR and Professional Development Committee, the wonderful Tammy Davidson, for final remarks. Thank you very much, Manny. Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you, everybody, for staying.
There we go. I have to tell you that the more I learn about benefits, the more that I am constantly amazed by the professionals of Manny and Cynthia that do this. And I can tell you that if you want to be a best place to work and you're filling out those forms, those benefits matter. And it's not for what you pay for. A lot of it is the cultural things that we do. We have a team of people here that can help you. Please contact them. and look out for our next webinar series. I want to thank our sponsors and thank this beautiful panel. I think we could spend another couple of hours on this. We might do so in the future and have maybe a workshop or something like that that will really get down to the nitty-gritty of what might be there. But we thank you for your time. We thank you for your participation. Please don't hesitate to work with us and ask your friends and colleagues. We are here to help. On behalf of the whole Greater Miami Chamber, we thank you and look forward to our next adventure together. Have a great day.